the record. Welcome everyone to tonight's ANC3F first meeting of 2023. I just want to remind everyone tonight that the order of things will, right now I have the agenda on our screen so that you could see it, and then I'll take it down. But when we start to go through the agenda, what I'll do is when we get to once we get into information items and needing any questions from the community, what I do is I go to commissioners first, and then I go to the community. And everyone is allowed, the community, at least just one question, so I can make sure that everyone gets to answer or ask a question, because as you see, I want to try to get through the meeting and not want to spend, like an hour on one item, but I want to make sure we get through the meeting, and just want to let everyone know too that the issues that you see that we work on is not solely done just online through these meetings. We're also doing a lot of work behind the scenes before we even get to these meetings. So this is just a higher level view of things that's happening in the community, but we're also behind the scenes are doing a lot of work as well. So with that said, moving on to the next item on the agenda is call to order. And so I will, it's roll call. So what I'll do is call out all the commissioners by SMD. So I will start with 3F01, Ryan.
Present.
I'm going to mess up your whole name.
It's Kudamis Brunoli for the record. You can also say Ryan CB too. Shorten it.
Thank you. 3F02, Terry Hewitt, sorry.
Sorry, I thought I had my mute off. My apologies. Present.
3F03, Mitchell Baer.
That's me. I'm here.
3F05, James Tenderick.
Present.
And 3F06, I saw Courtney Carlson join us.
Hi, I'm here.
Hey, Courtney.
How are you?
Good. Welcome. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is adoption of the January 17th, adoption of tonight's ANC3F meeting. The only addition I would like to make is to add Miss Alicia Linden of the AG's office. She's the civil rights and elder. She's chief of the civil rights and elder justice section to talk a bit on housing. So that's one addition I would like to make till tonight's meeting, and I'd like to add her either before DC Water or after DC Water.
If you do it after DC Water, I'm sure DC Water would appreciate it.
Okay. Just because we're just now adding it. So that'd be around 8:22. Any other items that we need to add to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the resolution given with the amendments for the Office of the OAG.
No. Oh.
Yeah.
You said resolution, the meeting agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, meeting agenda, my bad.
I second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion passes. Moving on to the next item of the agenda is approval of ANC3F meeting minutes from December 13, 2022. I just had one, I saw all of the commissioners got the latest meeting minutes. I would just add that, because in our draft, it says that UDC agreed to the 8 p.m. time when what happened is they said that they couldn't go up to the 8 p.m. time for the resolution on the lights, the tennis courts lights. They'd done some internal review and they couldn't go to 8 p.m. They had to go to a shorter time. It was like 7 p.m. or something like that. So I just wanted to make that adjustment to the minutes.
Okay, I can change that in the meeting minutes.
Are there any other I see Juanita.
Do you see this in the chat, Claudette?
Yes. So I see in the chat that Juanita wants to make an update anyways to this. The Office of Planning came back with a proposed modification. Okay, so we can add that the Office of Planning came up with a proposed modification of 7 p.m. And so that's why, and so the update on that was supposed to, what I remember from last month was to go with what UDC can actually do.
Mhm.
But they definitely didn't say that they could do 8 p.m. Last month. Any other changes to the meeting minutes from December?
I move we accept the meeting minutes as amended.
Any second?
Second.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, any opposed? And the motion passes. Moving on to the next item of the agenda is approval of ANC3F 2023 meeting schedule. So normally our meetings are the third Tuesdays of each month, and we've identified what those dates are for 2023. What we did is decide that in August and December, we would not have a meeting. Can I get a motion to approve our meeting dates for 2023, for our 2023 meeting schedule?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Moving on to the next item of the agenda is approval of security fund participation. So the OANC, the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions, gives us funding quarterly, but cannot do it until we actually participate in a security fund. I don't know if you want to call it a program. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's $50 for us to participate. And so we have to approve this as part of our budget. Is there a motion to approve the security fund participation?
I motion to
I
approve.
motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is, is the,
Officer elections.
yes, it's the officers election. So every year for our bylaws, we elect officers of the ANC. So what we have up is chair, vice chair, treasurer, and recording secretary. Is there, so what we'll do is we'll start, we'll go officer per office, like we'll just go by office. And we'll start with, we'll start with chair. Is there a motion to appoint?
I motion to nominate or appoint Claudette David to chair.
I second.
Okay.
That was quick. I accept. Thank you.
We're all so excited. We can't help but triple second it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All in favor? Say
Aye.
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 I
All right, any opposed? And the motion passes. Thank you. The next is vice chair. Is there a motion or
I
nomination?
nominate James.
James, do you accept your nomination?
I accept the nomination for vice chair.
Is there? Why am I stuck? Okay, you accept the nomination.
Is there a motion?
Yes,
I so move.
to accept James Tanderick as the vice chair. Okay.
Second.
We got a
Terry
second.
Terry seconds that. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you. The next officer position is treasurer. Is there a nomination for treasurer?
I nominate Mitch to be our next treasurer.
And I accept, thank you.
Second.
Wait, is there a
Oh,
motion?
sorry, I got excited.
Let's make a motion
Sorry.
to appoint Mitch Bear as treasurer of ANC3F.
I
I'll
move to
move.
appoint Mitch Bear as our next treasurer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Terry seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion passes. Congratulations, Mitch. And then the next item on the agenda, or the next position is recording secretary. Is there a nomination on the floor?
Yeah, I nominate Ryan.
I accept the
Right.
nomination.
Is there a motion to appoint Ryan as recording secretary? for
So moved.
ANC3F? Terry, you're not seconding? No.
I'm seconding.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion passes. Welcome to all the new officers of ANC3F.
Congratulations to all.
Congratulations to all. Next item on the agenda is commissioner updates and announcement. I will start with myself. I just got this in today. And I will stop sharing my screen right now. Okay. So I just got in today that the Department of Transportation, DDOT, is conducting a positive truck bus signage study to understand the benefits and costs of installing new signage in support of a potential mandatory truck bus route system and develop recommendations for next steps. As part of this study, DDOT would like to hear from the community and constituents. So there's a link, and the link is due, a survey is due by Tuesday, January 31st, and I have put all that information into the chat. So that's my update for right now. I would just go in order for any other updates. Ryan.
Sure, I have another DDOT update. So DDOT recently launched the new version of their traffic safety input service, which collects a lot of the 311 requests. Currently, they are planning to process 200 of these requests or inputs a quarter and 800 a year. Right now in our ANC, there are 3 inputs for signage and other markings. One at 4520 4520 Connecticut. No, that's not it. 4520. They did not actually list the cross street. I'm sorry. But I'll just link in the chat where people can go look at these inputs. But so far, this same input system is what led to the speed bumps out in front of Merch. So they are doing something.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Mitchell Baer, have you got any? Oh, and I'm sorry, Terry Hewitt, have you got any updates?
At the moment, I do not.
All right, Commissioner Mitchell Baer.
I don't have any at this moment. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Jameson Dirk, 3F05.
Hey, everyone. I have two quick updates. One of them is that, so I have a new email address. I've been getting emails from many people thinking I'm actually for Claudette's, but my new email now is ANC3F, so it's 3F05 at anc.dc.gov. So if you have any question you want to email me, please email me in that number. Also, since it is a new year, there's new borders for the ANC. So I'm gonna link in the chat website. We can actually look up, put your address in it, and you'll be able to identify what is your new ANC and S&D right now, because the borders have changed. So your commissioner may have changed, even as well as your ANC too. So those are my two big updates.
And we're also able to connect you to the correct commissioner in case you email the wrong one.
Yeah, exactly.
And we all know each other's email, so we'll try and help you.
Yeah. And then Commissioner Courtney Carson, have you got any updates?
Just a little one, which is good news. Happy, sad news. So unfortunately, a little red fox on our happy commercial strip between Nebraska and Fessenden has closed after 9 years of being a great part of our neighborhood. But in their place will be Call Your Mother, which is, I don't know if anyone knows, is a great bagel place that has, actually, I don't know how many they have around town now, but multiple locations, excellent bagels. So we're all really looking forward to having them come to the neighborhood next, I think, couple months.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And I'm sure Van Ness Main Street will have some more updates on all the upcoming business, all the new businesses coming to the community. There's a lot of changes happening.
More the merrier. Yay.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda is committee updates or committee reports. We are reorganizing. So we do have commissioners who will kind of help lead different committees, but we'll definitely be getting up and going for sure around February. But I will go through each committee just in case there is some type of update that anyone has. So I'll start with streets and sidewalks, and I see Paul.
Hey, thank you, Chair David. So just really quickly, we took a bit of a break with streets and sidewalks, waiting for the new commissioners to join. So glad you guys have all signed up for this very highly paying job. So appreciate that. We will be reconvening. Luckily, Commissioner Courtney Carlson is joining us as our committee commissioner lead. And our first task is going to be to take a look at our charter, our reason for existing, and update that, and hopefully report that back to everybody next time. But I do think we'll be focusing on two things. One is we've got a couple big capital projects. Some of you may have heard of one of them, the Connecticut Avenue study. But there is also the Broad Branch reconstruction plan. We want to make sure that the ANC has the right information to keep everyone engaged in those at the right points, as there will be lots of DDOT engagement efforts moving forward. The second effort is really focused on, I was glad one of the commissioners brought up the speed bumps in front of Merch. There's a lot that DDOT can do with in a much shorter term with things like speed bumps and paint and plastic posts and different signs and this kind of thing. So one of our big focuses has been traditionally the sidewalk gaps in our community. There are places where there are no sidewalks, but there's also the need for traffic calming, slowing down, cut through cars now and in the future as changes are made. So we really want to be active in pushing DDOT to do things that it can do right now. We don't have to wait 5 or 6 years for something to get in the capital budget. So lastly, if folks want to get on our email list and join our meetings, we meet once a month, generally the week before the ANC meeting. I'll put my email in the chat and let me know. Happy to have you on the list, participate or not, stay in the loop, whatever you want, but just send me your email and I'll add you to the list. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. We'll be moving on to Parks and Watershed, and I know Mitch is going to be leading it, and I know you're still working things out, but if you had any updates or anything to say tonight.
I don't have a report from that committee. We're still
Okay.
reorganizing ourselves.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Schools and universities, Commissioner James Sanderick will still be leading that committee. Any updates, Commissioner Sanderick?
Yeah. So a couple things. So we are still looking for a new chair for the committee. As much as I enjoy leading it, I want to make sure that I give people in the community a chance to lead it. We are planning to meet every 4th Tuesday of the month. So I have a meeting next week. If you're interested in joining, please you can email me in my new email address, or you can just private message me on the Zoom call right now, and I'll get you connected. We're gonna talk about a couple of things, mainly stuff on Howard Law University, as well as efforts with UDC. That was a big name topic for our last meeting. That was sort of like our hybrid November-December meeting. So if you want to join, please let me know.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanderick. And then housing and neighborhoods, Commissioner Terry Hewitt will be leading that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking forward to leading the Committee on Housing and Neighborhoods. There's a great deal to discuss. There's a lot that is going on. At the moment, I am not prepared to delve into it, but I am looking forward to working with the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. And I promise you we'll have a lot more for you next month. One of the things that we want to do too this year is make sure that we have 2 to 3 goals for 2023 for each committee as well, to help guide the committees in 2023. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is community forum. So it's open up to anyone in the community, but there are regulars. And so what I'll do is go through our regulars, and then I'll open the floor to everyone else. So I'm just going to start with UDC. And that would be Juanita Gray.
She might not be on the call right now. Yeah, she had to go.
Okay.
Yeah,
She left her report.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only update she had was stuff on for the tennis courts. That was kind of it.
Okay. Van Ness Main Street.
If I may, Gloria had to leave actually too, but I can read aloud what she posted to chat if that would be useful.
Yes, thank you.
So good evening, this is Gloria from Van Ness Main Street. Welcome to the new ANC. I can't stay on, so here's an update. Please follow us on our social or go to our website and join our newsletter distribution list. Thank you for a great 2022. Our 2023 calendar is out, and we have movie night in the park returning in June and July, plus Art All Night 2023 on September 22nd, 2023. Spooktacular on October 29th, 2023, and the holiday pop-up on December 2nd, 2023. The beautification planting program kicks off in late March, and we are fundraising and signing up volunteers. We have no news on the Burger King, but are following up with the owner of the building on what is next. We have checked in with Mom's Organic on exact opening dates, so follow us on our social media for more info. Additionally, our small business grant application is open until Friday for our businesses.
All right, thank you. James, can you read, or somebody, do you mind reading the update from UDC in the chat, only because it's being recorded? So
Yeah, I can definitely do that. She says, hello, commissioners. I have a prior engagement this evening, so I'll be logging off shortly and not giving reports. I will, however, send an email to all the commissioners with UDC updates. And welcome to our new commissioners. I look forward to meeting you all soon. I do want to provide this update on the tennis court lights. The university requested use until 8 p.m. The Office of Planning came back with a proposed modification of 7 p.m. Additionally, the hearing that was to take place on Tuesday, January 10th, has been moved to Thursday, January 26th at 4 p.m. Due to the fact this meeting is being handled as a quote unquote modification of consequence, the university will not be providing testimony.
All right, thank you for that. And that was UDC, the update from UDC. Do we have any of our MOKers? So the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services has 2 people for Ward 3 who work with commissioners to resolve any issues in the community. And sometimes they're on our calls and have updates. Don't see them right. I don't see anyone right now.
We see one rep from Matt Freeman's office. He's here. And we also have to raise hand with Carol Rosenblatt.
Okay. Well, let me go to Carol first. Hey, Carol.
Hi, I'm not responding to your last question. This is a new issue.
Sure.
So, should I go forward? Okay, so congratulations on your all being here and starting a new year. And I live at 4700 Connecticut Avenue, and I am somewhat familiar with the situation with the Burger King workers who were summarily fired or terminated with like not even a day's notice. And these are mostly Latino women and some who have worked for that particular Burger King for 15 years or 17 years, and now have been living paycheck to paycheck and had no way of even planning. But I think as a employer in our district, I would like to see if the ANC can express their displeasure about this treatment, seeing what can be done to find employment for the workers. Not all of them can go to Maryland. At least one of them that I know of has a small child and is in DC, so can't do that traveling. And what kind of perhaps severance could be given to them in light of the fact that they have worked so long and have been not treated so well during the entire time that they've been there, but have been fearful about expressing it. So if there's anything that can be done, that would be appreciated.
Thank you, Carol. And I think that's in, Ryan, is that in your SMD? But I know what we could do.
That's in mine.
Okay, and James, sorry. So, I mean, I know we could look into it and see what we can actually do as an ANC. Any feedback, James?
Yeah, Carol. I'd love to be able to get like your email address or from people that are involved with that as well, their email address. I know I represent the former Burger King property, so I want to be able to sort of collaborate with y'all and see what we can do. I'll also be able to CC Gloria Garcia as well and try to see what are some ways in which as a community we can support you all during this time, because from what I can tell, it was a very abrupt thing that doesn't seem fair to the workers that have been working there for a while. So please get in contact with me. I'll message you right now and try to see if we can get in contact with some of the workers and stuff and figure out where to go from there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Christian Damiana from Councilmember Fruman's office.
Hello, my name is Christian Damiana, and I'm representing Councilmember Fruman's office at ANC3F meetings this year. So I'm a new regular. I serve as the council member's communications director, and I also handle his transportation policy portfolio. First, congrats to the new officers and new commissioners. I'm a former commissioner myself, so I look forward to working with each of you. I have a few updates on Councilmember Fruman's office. The council member is beginning his fiscal year 24 budget outreach. So this Saturday, he will be hosting a virtual budget priority listening session. Neighbors can join to share their funding priorities and their goals for building a more inclusive, welcoming Ward 3. I'll be sure to put the link to RSVP in the chat. If you can't make the listening session, no worries. Residents can also submit their priorities using our budget input form at the same link. So, that's a great opportunity to make sure your priorities are heard by the council member's office as he considers his own priorities that he'll be sending to the mayor and pushing over the next few months. Of course, we can't promise we can get every priority funded, but this is a great opportunity to make sure that it's on our radar. Other than that, if you have any questions about the council member's work, I'm happy to answer them. And if not, I'll link my contact info in the chat so you can reach out.
Where can folks go to join the info section, or is there a website?
Yeah, I'm linking the sign up info now. They can RSVP at mattfrumanward3.com/budget input.
Okay, and is that on your website too for people who will be looking at this after the meeting?
Yes, yep.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Christian, just a quick question.
Okay.
Are there gonna be like multiple opportunities for people to input, or multiple ways in which people can like input on the budgets, like besides this like one meeting coming up in September or this Saturday, sorry?
Absolutely. Of course, there's been a condensed timeline since the council member took office 2 weeks ago, and he needs to send his budget letter in about 2 weeks. But we are trying to include as many opportunities to give comment as possible. So in addition to the meeting on Saturday, there is the budget input form online. That's mattfrumanward3.com/budget input. And there's also an opportunity for community organizations, ANCs, and other groups to send formal letters to our Chief of Staff, Lee Catherine Miles, about your own budget priorities. So if that's something that the ANC looks to do, we'd be happy to receive that letter and consider your priorities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and that's in 2 weeks. Okay.
How quick? So quick.
Can you tell us what's part of council members' priorities right now? Like, what is he thinking is his priority?
Sure. The council member hasn't yet announced his specific funding priorities, but his overarching vision is looking to build a more inclusive Ward 3 for all. And so that's going to mean things like fully funded neighborhood schools, safe transportation options, affordable and abundant housing, and other things that Ward 3 voters were looking for throughout the campaign, and that we know we've heard from you and other stakeholders now that you're still looking for. So we'll release a more detailed list in the coming weeks, but those are his main priorities.
All right. Thank you so much, Christian. We appreciate you, and see you next month. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any other community updates? I'm sorry.
Hi,
Okay.
this is Angela with the Friends of Pierce Mill. Would this be the time for me to introduce myself, or should I wait?
Yes, this is the time. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Angela Kramer, and I'm the new Executive Director of the Friends of Pierce Mill in Rock Creek Park. And I just wanted to say hello and to let everyone know that we're here, and we have some really fun stuff planned at Pierce Mill for the upcoming milling season, starting with the Morris women back at Rock Creek Park on March 18th this year, and some fun activities for kids, the Herring Heroes obstacle course on April 15th. I'm right now planning a whole bunch more fun activities in Rock Creek Park. We're bringing back the square dance and other things that people love. And it's all ending with a grain festival on October 22nd. So I'm really excited to share more details at an upcoming meeting, but just wanted to introduce myself today.
Awesome. Thank you. And do you have, is that information up on a website for you?
I'll put our website. I shall put a link to join our mailing list in the chat so people can join our mailing list and see our website.
Okay. Can you verbally give the website for people just watching this? Because it's recorded.
www.friendsofpiercemill.org.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any other updates? Seeing none, moving on to the next item of the agenda is we'll hear from Captain Ronald Bridges to give an ANC3F public safety update.
Hey, good evening.
Can't find you now. 1 second. Add pin. Welcome, Captain Bridges. So let me just let the community know. So since last year, each month at our meetings, we have been getting monthly updates on just public safety updates for ANC3F. And just before you was Lieutenant
Lieutenant Baseline?
Williams.
Oh, Lieutenant Williams, you're absolutely correct.
Bridget Williams. Oh my goodness, yes, Lieutenant Bridget Williams, yes. And she was wonderful working with the community as well. So welcome to you, who's replacing her right now as well as the captain, to give us monthly updates on public safety and ANC3F.
Yes, ma'am. And just a brief introduction. I am new to the 2nd District, and I've been in the 2nd District since September. So I'm certainly looking forward to working with each and every one of you. I've been at 60, 70, and SOD. I've been with the department for about 13 years, so it's been a great experience. But I'll move right on to the public safety stuff. So as you all know, all of our crime information comes from crime cards, and it's based on the same 30-day period as last year. And so far this year, no homicides, no sexual abuse cases. We did have 2 assault with deadly weapons, and I'll talk about those just momentarily. No robberies. We did have 1 burglary, and again, I'll talk about that. We certainly had an uptick in thefts from autos. So what we've been trying to do is, tell the community not to leave personal items in their vehicles. We certainly had an uptick, particularly during the holiday season. The other thing too, in the 3500 block to about the 4500 block of Connecticut Avenue, we've had a lot of businesses dealing with a lot of theft issues. So just to move forward just a little bit, I'll talk about the assault with the deadly weapons. So at 4607 on December 23rd, and this event was a domestic violence event, which was cleared by an arrest. S1 and at approximately 0455 hours, MPD responded to the location for domestic violence call again. R1 reported to MPD that S1, S2 entered S2's apartment without permission. And then while in the apartment, S1 and S2 became involved in a verbal altercation, which turned physical. At some point, when the suspect drew a firearm and pointed it at the respondent. So, and that was thankfully closed with an arrest. The second assault with a deadly weapon occurred as a result of a 1050, where there was an accident occurred. For those that don't know what 1050 is, it's an accident involving 2 vehicles. So we had an accident. S1 got out of his vehicle and brandished a weapon and took the other party's vehicle. So that one is still an open case, so to speak. And then the 1 burglary that we talked about, that occurred at 4007 Connecticut Avenue. In this particular case, the complainant reported that approximately 11:08 hours, the suspect gained entry to the apartment building, made entry to the apartment building, and went to the mailroom and took some mail matter from the location, and then made good their escape. And that case is still open as well. But again, just for the 30-day period, the uptick with thefts is something that we're certainly looking at. And but a lot of those thefts came from non-payment or thefts from the businesses, again, in 35 to 4000 block of Connecticut Avenue Northwest. And last but not least, last week I had an amazing experience, and I certainly apologize for the late notice. But we had a community walk in Cleveland Park that started on Connecticut Avenue, went to the 3500 block of Austin Place. So there's about 15 to 20 people that made the event. And I got the opportunity to introduce myself and meet a lot of folks from the community. Certainly very positive. And I'll certainly field any questions that you guys might have.
I will start with commissioners and then we'll go to the community. Commissioners first, any questions?
I just have 2 quick questions. Hi, hello. My name is James Sanderick. I'm one of the commissioners for 3F05. Nice to meet you. I am curious, so I know that you are the captain, and usually we have a lieutenant coming in to give our meetings. Is the idea that you will be coming to our monthly meetings giving crime updates, or will there be like a new lieutenant coming in and sort of provide those updates for us, for the community?
Great question. As you guys well know, the Metropolitan Police Department has, the last couple of years has had, issues with manpower and all that kind of good stuff. So with the transfer of Lieutenant Williams to another district, I just wanted to step in and sort of bridge that gap. So yeah, I'll be filling in for the meanwhile. And again, I'm new to the district, so I'm trying to meet as many people and put names with faces. So I certainly look forward to to being a part of this meeting every month.
Awesome. Yeah, and it'd probably be good to put your email in the chat as well in case neighbors have any
Absolutely.
questions to give to you for sure. I guess my
Sure.
other question too is that you mentioned the community walk, and I know a lot of us were trying to be able to go, but it was just like such like a last minute thing.
It was.
What were some of like the concerns people were talking about? Because I know it was from like Cleveland Park all the way up to like just some like north of UDC kind of area. What were some of the concerns that were expressed, like I guess in like the Van Ness area?
Well, just like I talked about, a lot of the focus was on Connecticut Avenue and some of the theft activity that's been occurring along Connecticut Avenue. And that was the primary focus. The second focus was really to get out and introduce myself, and I had a lot of phenomenal conversations with folks that attended. So it gave us the opportunity. It was all 5 officers. So we got the opportunity to answer a lot of questions and field a lot of questions about different things. But most of it centered around just quality of life type of things, particularly around theft in the on Connecticut Avenue.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Nice meeting you too.
Any other?
Will you be doing more of those upcoming? We'll all look forward to meeting you. And if you could give us a little more notice. I know a lot of the rest of the commissioners of 3F would have loved to have been there. So we'd love to get the chance to meet you.
Absolutely. I really apologize for the late notice, but more than anything, I just wanted to get out and meet some folks. But yeah, we will be announcing them here momentarily. Between now and next week, I'll try to get our community outreach folks to start pushing some stuff out so that way we can have some more community walks. Not only that, just the introductions and meeting people. It's amazing. I've had an amazing time since I've been here so far.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yep. Nice meeting you too, Ms. Carlson.
If I could add on.
Yes.
Good evening, Officer Bridges. Actually, Courtney hit the pin right on the head with the questions. I would just want to follow up that if it's possible to have a recurring, and if so, we can have a conversation about that.
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I understood it to be just for ANC3C. I don't think anyone reached out to ANC3F at all. Like that was an ANC3C community walk. So it'd be good to get an ANC3F community walk to coordinate with all of us.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from commissioners? I will move to the public. So I will start with Karen and then David.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask about the murder of Daniel McKinney, AKA Mike, on May 12th, 2022 at the Rodman. He was found stabbed to death. Unfortunately, because of the very short notice provided for your walk, I was not able to attend.
Okay.
My understanding is that no one posed that question.
No, I did not. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I live at a building a half a block from the Rodman, managed by the same landlord. And I asked Lieutenant Burdett Williams repeatedly if there was any information about the murder, about suspects, about anything. And the answer seemed to be no. And here we are, what, 9 months or whatever later? So I'm asking again, what are the police doing to solve that stabbing death?
I understand. Man, what I'll do is I don't have a lot of information on that particular case. So again, I just arrived at the district in September. So what I'll do is I will follow up, and if there's, and I'll leave my contact information for you specifically, and everyone else in the chat. But I need to find out and get as much
Contact
information I can about it.
For everybody.
Yes,
Would you?
ma'am.
Thank you.
And I will certainly get that information to you and the rest of the group. I just need an opportunity to dig it up and find out what's going on with that particular case.
It's very disturbing that nothing seems to be.
Thank you.
Let me find out. I'm sure the case is still open and the case is still being worked, but I will certainly find out and I'll give you an update as soon as I can.
Thank you.
So I'll leave my information in the chat for you. And if you leave your information, I'll reach out to you sooner than later.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Ms. Caston.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Bardine.
Thank you, Chair David. Captain, it's a great honor to meet you and welcome to our neighborhood. And I have a issue I wanted to raise with you, which is a longer term and different issue to which I don't expect you the answer today. Last year, the DC Council enacted a modified Idaho stop law, Idaho stop law and right turn law. And the implementation of that law will require some study and understanding by the MPD, because part of the implementation will be an police department one. And I'm very interested in how that will unfold, the development inside MPD, and ultimately instructions, training and instructions to the police force on what their role will be. I'm raising similar questions with the committees of jurisdiction in the council, but I very much appreciate if during the course of the year, you or someone else from MPD could report to the ANC what kinds of issues you see coming up and how you think MPD will address them, or what options they have, and how it's called the Idaho Stop Law, but it's really modification. A lot of work was done in the council to tweak the law.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I got it written down, so I will certainly follow up. I will certainly follow with you by the next meeting or sooner. And I'm gonna put my information in the chat as well. But Mr. Bard, I will certainly follow up. I appreciate that question.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the community? Any other questions from commissioners? Seeing none, thank you, Captain Bridges. We shall see you next month.
Oh, I certainly appreciate it. And I put my telephone number. I guess I separated them, but I'll make sure my telephone number is in there as well. But it's a pleasure, and I certainly look forward to working with each and every one of you. And I certainly, Ms. Caston, I'll certainly have an answer for you in the next couple of days. Mr. Bard, the same with you. By next meeting, I hopefully have some information about the Idaho stop law. And again, it's a pleasure meeting you guys.
Yeah, and definitely. Sorry.
Do you want my email address, sir, Captain?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What I was going to say is definitely make sure that the commissioners are on those emails too, so we know what's happening with the communication. What communications is happening between MPD and constituents.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
But we definitely want to make sure that we are doing more with MPD as as it relates to the community, because there are more break-ins happening in the community as well, and we'd like to figure out, how can we decrease those type of things. But last question, so the breaking and entry report that you gave, did the suspects know each other, where it was someone went into another person's apartment building and then went to their mailbox? They knew each other?
No, that particular case was a burglary, and that particular case, the suspect actually he was messing with the security system, was able to gain entry into the building, so he was not known, unfortunately, and he went into the mail room and took mail matter from the location, and then left that location.
What building was that again?
That one is going to be 4007 Connecticut Avenue Northwest.
so one thing that we are going to do is try to do quarterly meetings with building managers and ANC commissioners. And we'd love to include MPD on those meetings as well, so that building managers can have these discussions on like safety in buildings, because that starts to then impact the community as well in cases like this, where someone is able to get through security in a building and go into a unit. So that person's probably doing other things in this neighborhood. So everybody, needs to be on alert of things of that nature happening in the community as well. So thank you.
Just along those lines, last week I got the opportunity with a few officers to actually go to a couple of different apartment buildings on Connecticut Avenue, and over the last year, maybe the last 2 years, the cost of service for these particular buildings have been increasing. So I went to about 8 or 9 different buildings with management, and again, the focus is on security, it's on cameras. So and also from an MPD standpoint, we certainly want to increase visibility in those buildings and around those buildings to obviously to deter crime. But so our goal is certainly to implement some type of plan where we can reduce cost of service and get that visibility out there.
Okay, thank you. And I think Commissioner Terry Hewitt had a statement.
Thank you, ma'am. And Officer Bridges, I would also say with the conversations that you're having, and as we go forward with meetings when it comes to crime, it would be helpful to understand what the tethers are. Are there individuals within the greater community who may be associated with some of these incidents? Are they coming from other areas? It would be helpful to see what the pattern is, so that we as a community can be much more alert and appropriately or accordingly.
Yeah. A lot of it, is our thefts, and thefts most of the time are basically crimes of opportunity, and so some of those are pretty tough to develop, like patterns, so to speak. The one, as far as with the ADW, that was a domestic violence case, so those parties did know each other. Now, again, that case was closed on their arrest, but we certainly do look at the crime patterns, particularly as it relates to robberies and things of that nature. But we certainly do look at that, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and look forward to future.
So are you able to tell us? Are you able to tell us like some of the crimes that happened in the last month? Were they amongst people who lived in the community?
Well, I didn't look at each specific crime, but as I sort of pulled through, I always take the crimes that are a little bit more serious in nature. But most of the thefts, were from businesses, and there was a couple of reports where folks just didn't pay, or they might have stolen some items and walked past the cash registers. So that's where a lot of those, this time last year we had 8, and then in the same 30-day period this year we had 26. So that's a huge increase, and that's if you look at crime cards, those thefts are sort of driving our crime numbers, and so obviously. We have to do a little bit more there, and increasing visibility and making sure that we're saturating the neighborhood, so we can reduce those thefts.
Okay, Terry, Commissioner Hewitt.
Thank you, ma'am. In addition to that, it is because the numbers have increased in a short period of time, relatively short period of time. That is the reason why I mentioned the tethers, because even though the commonality may be that individuals it's unknown or unable to determine, or understandable, but it is a short period of time where the uptick has occurred. So there has to be some, even if it's small, some sort of a tether that I think it will help the community. But actually I just realized I mentioned this, I'm going down a rabbit hole. What I want to also state is, if MPD could broadly message, and I see this quite often on Nextdoor, which can be a useful platform and also a bit lots of work behind that. Remind individuals to contact MPD. Often I see incidents that individuals have not reported. So it would be useful to remind individuals to report, even if they're not absolutely certain, and that could help with the pattern that you're building. I think it's crucial. People are afraid and they don't know if they should report.
I agree. And I always say, I'm always we should always report crimes. And one of the things, as far as messaging, and every time I get out to the community, and the other thing too that we didn't mention was that the deaths from autos. And a lot of times, vehicles are so personal to us, and we leave a lot of items, computers, our identification, sometimes even our keys, and we leave those in vehicles. And so a lot of bad people are looking at vehicles trying to, and it's those things like that. And so this time last year we had a huge, this not just in 2D, but across the city we had a huge uptick in deaths from autos and vehicle thefts. And so I try to encourage people at their residence with the Ring cameras, so that way we can see what suspects are doing and we could possibly identify them. And because usually what will happen is if the suspect goes to one place, he's probably going to go to another place. And then, the city has a great Ring program where it comes at a huge reduction. And some of that information is very helpful in helping us solve crimes, and it has. So I encourage everybody to get the Ring cameras and to do their part to help us. And like I said, that's huge. But I really appreciate your comment.
Thank you. And then just the last comment is from Amy Schussheim.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's so good to have you here, Officer Bridges. I would encourage you, I live at the Connecticut House, which is at 4500 Connecticut, and I'm the president of the Tenant Association here. I would encourage you, in addition to the property managers, when you visit these buildings, to include the tenant leaders, because the property managers are not acting in the best interest always of the people who live in these buildings. And they are motivated more by profit than by, they're motivated sometimes more by profit, and they ignore problems that keep recurring. So that's one thing I would ask, is that you be inclusive of tenant leaders when you come to these buildings. And I will say that I think there is a lot of underreporting of crime, because I can just tell you anecdotally here at the Connecticut House, it's a lot more than car thefts. It's aggressive panhandling within the apartment building and on Connecticut and Albemarle. I got involved in one such situation a week ago, in which there was a woman here who probably shouldn't have been placed here by the Department of Behavioral Health, because she has trouble living independently. She antagonized, when she was in the street, a motorist, and he followed her into our parking lot, and I witnessed her playing chicken with the car, jumping in front of it and out of it, and then he crashed into the fence of the parking lot with the alley, and then he backed up into a vehicle's car and sped off. Now, the other thing I'd like to bring up is I then reported it to the police, but I do want you to be aware, I don't know if Lieutenant Williams passed this on to you, is that many of us, especially here at the Connecticut House, are afraid to tell you, the MPD, what is happening, because we have ongoing threatening notes placed on other tenants' doors. If you call the police, or if you tell Darrow, or if you tell Borger, this is what we will do to you. So there is a reluctance. I went down as a good Samaritan and report that crime, because I knew that the owner of that vehicle needed a police report to get insurance reimbursement for the damage to his car. But I am reluctant to call MPD because of the threats I've had to myself, and even to the point where property managers are saying, well, they'll tell tenants, they'll tell residents, oh, well, it was probably the tenant leader who called the MPD, not us. So please do remember that the interests of the property managers are not always in line with the people who are living in these buildings. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that. And thank you, Captain Bridges. We shall see you next month. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Take care, guys. Yep, have a good one. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is DC Water, and Mitch Bayer will give a brief introduction.
Okay, what I want to do is ask a few questions, some follow-up to Emmanuel. We had some correspondence during the last month or so. So I want to thank you, Emmanuel. I see the slides up from Jarrell. And after we talk for a couple of minutes, Emmanuel, we have maybe some questions from the other commissioners and from the community. We'll go into those slides. Okay, the first item is you and I corresponded about the trees in site 1, and you indicated that there might be only one tree that would be taken down additionally to any that had prior been taken down. My question to you is, couldn't you mark that tree so that we can see what it is, and that before it's taken down, would you coordinate with me and with the community, please?
Sure, I have forwarded that inquiry on to my project manager, Peter Tanubu. He's on the call as well. So I don't know, Peter, if you want to speak to that, or but I did give it to Peter, so he has it.
We'll be meeting with DOE and ANC tomorrow, and we will mark the tree after our meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay. The second thing is that Will mentioned during the December meeting that he was going to come by and talk with me about the main sewer line that's coming out of or between Park Van Ness and Park Connecticut going into the main sewer line in the valley, a pretty major one. Is Will available, or can you please ask him to notify me when he's going to come by and we can talk about that particular trunk line that's going into the main sewer line?
Okay, Peter, can we follow up on that one too?
Yeah, I spoke to Will this afternoon.
Okay.
He's going to be in this meeting. He's going to be here.
Hi everyone. Can you all hear me or see me?
Yeah. Hey, Will.
Hey, Will.
So that must have been a little bit of miscommunication. I'm happy to have that happen. I didn't remember that I would be coordinating that. I actually Emmanuel, I was kind of hoping that you all would be able to coordinate that as part of the ANC work. And then Peter's the PM at this point in time, so he'd really be the best one to walk you through that as well anyway.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we can coordinate that.
If someone coordinates it and you guys stop by sometime, just look at it. I appreciate that. Okay. Two things about your communications with Dr. Waterman that I think are very beneficial. And so I'm going to ask you guys to expand what you've done. In your letter or email message of, I think it was November 21st of last year, you sent out some precautions that were going to be needed for the community there on Audubon. And I also have seen that in your slides, you're going to talk a little bit about precautions and some of the maybe slight restrictions that people will have on water use. And you also indicated that you're going to do a 14-day and then a 7-day notification of people on work in their area. If you could send me the kind of the notification letter as you're going to be sending it out to people, we'd like to just see it and at least be able to comment on it, or maybe ask for additional items to be covered by it, if you would, please.
Yes, these will be in the form of door hangers that will hang on doors. But Peter, we should be able to provide an advanced copy. Can we do that?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
It's a standard. Okay. It's what we use all over the district. It's a standard door hanger.
Great. Okay. Also, I see on your presentation this evening that you're going to show a schedule for CIPP operations, and I assume that because of the hiatus that you guys did in December into January, that you're going to update that at some time to reflect, you're a little bit behind that particular schedule. What I'm going to ask you for is, as you guys start working in the sites, that I would ask you for a more detailed, more granular, and more precise schedule of operations so that the community can know within a few days' notice of when you're going to be there doing operations on the sewer main. And I assume that that's going to be part of the 14-day and 7-day notice. Am I correct about that?
So yeah, we do plan to provide just that, a more granular kind of breakdown on what to expect. As part of that, we're also going to be hosting our next virtual community meeting as we are in the phase of ramping up for the CIPP. So as we promised, as part of our outreach efforts, we will be doing a meeting in addition to the handing out of door hangers and other information as well. But yes, we'll be providing a more granular sort of detail on that work.
Okay, and also something that you provided to Dr. Waterman that I think would be very, very helpful. You provided the location of where the boiler truck was going to be as work was being done on Audubon Terrace. And I asked that you do that for every location from Broad Branch up to Albemarle, have detailed graphics like you did for her of the 3 on Audubon for each section where you're going to be doing some work on the pipes. I appreciate that that may expand your work a little bit, but giving people that perspective of where the equipment's going to be, along with when the schedule can tell people how they have to react to operations and when exactly they're going to have to do that, would be really, really very helpful. So I ask that you please get that more detailed, smaller segment maps to us as soon as you possibly can.
Okay. Noted.
I guess with that, I don't have anything else. I'll turn it back over to you. And if Jarrell wants to go through slides 7 through 12 and 20, that would be real helpful this evening.
Awesome. Jarrell, if you can take things over here.
All right. Good evening, everyone. First off, happy New Year. I hope everyone enjoyed their holiday break. As you know, my name is Jarrell Johnson. I'm part of DC Water's Soapstone outreach team, and I'm here to provide an update on the project and current status. We'll briefly touch on the background of the project, the project benefits. I'll give you a construction update and also a CIPP timeline update. With that being said, the Soapstone project covers 6,200 linear feet of sewer pipe.
Jarrell?
Yes.
Excuse me, Jarrell, would you please go to slide number 7 and do 7 through 12 and then 20? I think much of this is just covering old ground, and I want to make efficient use of your time and ours as well.
Okay. Okay. Basically, we'll be returning to the site. We plan on returning late January to begin work. Our current construction hours are still 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's Monday through Saturday. Dealing with night falling, the sun going down earlier. There may be some temporary lighting in locations to assist crews to work safely. We anticipate the CIPP work to begin at Site 6 late January, most likely early February 2023. And as Emmanuel mentioned, we will have a dedicated meeting surrounding the CIPP schedule and provide more details to you all. And we'll be sending that invite out this week. Other activities that continue, the bypass pumping at sites 4, 5, and 6 is still active. When we return, there will be traffic control at Broad Branch Road, that's near the park entrance for CIPP work, and also continue manhole inspections and rehabilitation. Here's a look at the most up-to-date CIPP schedule. We're showing activities starting at sites 6, 5, and 4. late late January, early February. And as those activities happen, we will keep you all in the loop. And Emmanuel maintains that weekly updates. We'll send notifications site by site as we go through. So sites 4, 5, and 6 will be the first sites to receive the CIPP work in the liner, followed by sites 3, 2, and 1. Some other activities that'll take place once we return. We'll continue with the stream work at site 1, which includes some of the grading, installation of rock walls. And that'll continue until late February 2023, as well as the stream bypass pumping at site 1. And this bypass pumping at sites 4, 5, and 6 will also continue, and that'll be throughout the CIPP activity duration. We had a discussion earlier prior to the presentation about an update on the trees. Our team was able to meet out in the field, and we were able to save about 14 trees on site 1. So currently there's only one more tree planning to be removed currently. And just a reminder, as part of this project, there was an incentive for our contractor to reduce the amount of trees removed from the site, and they've been doing a pretty good job with that so far. Here's a graphic showing some of the impacted properties on the main line. There are 11 houses along Audubon Terrace from the 2900 block to the 3000 block. And those are the properties and locations that will receive the door knockers and other outreach materials as we approach this segment of work.
Before you go on, would you go back? Okay. Now just to that one right there. There's a trunk line that comes down 29th Street coming into the main sewer line. Are you going to do any notification of the people along 29th Street? Because they're all connected to that trunk line and are going to be affected.
No, the only people that is going to get notices will be people on Audubon. Those are the ones that is lateral directly connected to the sewer line that we are lining.
Right. But the people on 29th Street are connected to a trunk line that comes into the main sewer line. And maybe you'll have to tell me that they're going to see a plug there, aren't there? They, as you do CIPP processes, so that they should be alerted as well that they're going to see some work being done in their neighborhood.
Will, can you?
Hi everybody. I'm having some technical difficulties. Can everybody hear me and see me again? Sorry.
Yeah, we can see you.
The folks on 29th shouldn't have any impacts. They're separated by a manhole and some distance. Are there particular impacts that you're worried about on 29th?
Well, I'm worried about any line that comes in contact where you're doing relining work, Will. And so if people on 29th could be possibly affected by what's happening in your main sewer line there, then either they should be warned what's going to happen, or there should be a plug, or both things should be happening with it. This is kind of, Will, a little bit broader discussion that I have been hoping to have with DC Water with regard to, some of the other trunk lines that are going into the main sewer line, and that if you are doing work on the main sewer line and are going to have plugs on the laterals and some of the big trunk lines, that people like the ones on 29th Street should be also seeing that as well.
let's do this. Peter, can you and Chris and I and Kevin or Nick take a look at exactly what that arrangement will be for plugs and all that? Can we take a look at how that's gonna look, and then feed that information back to the ANC? Because what we're doing everywhere else is kind of the next segment up. We're providing notifications there, and if the setup is probably the same on 29th, then to be consistent, we would want to at least give some notifications.
Okay, but the difference here is that the manhole on 29th kind of drop. The manhole drop, the manhole is kind of be like the buffer that separates the one that we line. That's why we not, it's just like a road. Yeah.
Depending on how Kevin wants to do that exact setup right there. Let's just take a look at that and feed that information back.
Okay.
I don't believe that there would be any impact on 29th, but we'll take a look at it. And either way, putting a 14-day notice out. I mean, it's a handful of extra homes. It's actually not even that many houses. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You can go on, Jarrell.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, here's a graphic showing what we'll when we perform the activity on the pipes near Lenore Lane. The red dotted pipe that you see near the bottom of the screen, there won't be any CIPP work there, but the yellow dotted line and also the green dotted line, those are lines that'll be sewer pipes that'll be CIPP lined. And then the blue dot in the center represents the manhole. It kind of serves as that buffer there.
Jarrell, can I just chime in on this one? So this is another similar kind of situation. There's no homes tied into that yellow line. They're all tied into the line that's out in Lenore, and then they collect and they head down that steep slope along that yellow line. So they're all separated as well.
Right, but again, you're going to put something at that junction of where that manhole is, so that something, because you're going to be lining that yellow line pipe, and so you need to make sure you've done something for the red dotted line pipe as well, right?
Yeah, and Peter, when we talk about that, let's have Kevin be prepared to talk about this one as well. And Kevin might even be on the line.
He's in California. He's out of town.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And we anticipate about 2 days of work in this area to get that work done. Moving along to the next slide, just some traffic impacts that you might see along Broad Branch Road. Just the cleaning of the sewer line and the CIPP work will require a shutdown of one lane. We'll have flaggers on site to assist motorists and pedestrians around traffic. And those lane closures will be from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And they're anticipated to continue through late February 2023. With that, brings us to the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, concerns, I think you all have the email addresses, but here they are on the screen. Feel free to reach out, and look forward to getting some invites from us for our standalone meeting where we'll take a deeper dive into some of this information. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, Chair David, and the community input from the other commissioners.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That has been the most efficient meeting, I think, with DC Water that we've had. Any questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the community? Seeing none. Thank you, DC Water. See you next month. I appreciate all that you do to make sure that you communicate with us.
Thank you very
And
much.
work with us to communicate to the community. Thank you.
See you next month.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Next on our agenda is Miss Alicia Linden, who is Chief of the Civil Rights and Elder Justice Section for the Public Advocacy Division with the AG's office, and I will pin you. And Alicia's here as a follow-up to our meeting with Tony Towns. She did send us an email response in December, but wanted to make sure that she showed up at a meeting as soon as possible, and I couldn't get her officially on the meeting agenda, but definitely made sure that, you know, the agenda that was public for the last 2 weeks, but definitely made sure that she was able to show up at our January meeting, because it's the issue has been so important. So Alicia.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm Alicia Linden. I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate the invitation. As Claudette said, my colleague Tony Towns came to your November meeting at the request of the commission to talk some about our settlement with Darrow Realty and Darrow Management Services, which has a number of buildings, of course, in you're in the ANC. And so I apologize I was not able to make the December meeting. Your commissioners asked, and that was entirely on us. We just had scheduling conflicts. But we did receive a number of questions that I know folks had sent in. And so I wanted first to kind of share with you the responses that I already provided to the commissioners to a lot of the questions that were submitted. And then I'm happy to answer any other questions or elaborate on any of it. I do think, and I think my colleague Tony did a little bit of this in November, but one thing that I kind of want to state at the outset is kind of the parameters of what our initial lawsuit and our actual settlement was about related to the Darrow buildings, because I understand a lot of the concerns that you folks have are kind of wide ranging, and some of them are related to our lawsuit and settlement and some of them aren't. Our lawsuit was brought against Darrow and the Darrow entities and Carissa Berry, the president, as well as Infinity Real Estate and their principals for discriminating against people with vouchers and other subsidies. I understand there's a lot of voucher holders in several Darrow buildings, and so there were some questions as to why it was we believed that Darrow was discriminating against voucher holders when there were quite a few. I think we got a little bit to the core of that in that, as I know many of you have brought to the attention of various officials around DC, it used to be the case that landlords could charge the maximum rate for a particular zip code when a prospective tenant was using a voucher or a subsidy. And that was often much higher than what market rate was and what tenants without vouchers were paying. And so that incentivized a lot of landlords to lease up a lot of voucher holders in their buildings. And that's what Darrow did, or that's what we believe Darrow did. And then there was one or two kind of high profile incidents that took place in a few Darrow buildings that involved folks with vouchers, and that kind of flipped the script for Darrow, and they started instituting policies across the board that were designed to reduce the number of voucher holders in Darrow buildings. And that we believe was discriminatory, and that's why we brought our lawsuit and ultimately reached the settlement that we did. I know that there's a lot of questions about different security and housing conditions and renovations that are happening in Darrow buildings. I will do my best to answer any questions that you folks have on those issues. By and large, they're outside the scope of what our lawsuit was related to and outside the scope of a lot of the jurisdiction that the Office of the Attorney General has. But I'm absolutely going to do my best to answer any of those questions that you have. And if I can't answer your question, I'll try to give you the information you need for who you might be able to go to address that. So I want to just kind of go through quickly. I'm going to paraphrase the questions as they were posed to me and then give you the answer that I provided to the commission last month. Question one was, why was Darrow allowed to select the new property management company, Borger Management, that has now taken over those buildings? Our goal in the settlement here was to ensure that the final say and the control over the leasing policies at Darrow Buildings did not rest with the same folks that it did before, meaning the owners of Darrow and Carissa Berry. And so that's what we were trying to accomplish. And I believe we have accomplished that by ensuring that Darrow Management Services has had to dissolve, which it has done. Darrow Realty has had to engage a new third-party company that would be separately responsible for the leasing policies that Darrow was going to undertake. I know a lot of the same people are still there, but there is a new set of folks at Borger Management that also bear responsibility for what those policies are, and that was our goal. Our settlement agreement did not permit or require us to have authority, us meaning OAG, to have authority over which property management company they selected. And so what process they went through to select Borger, we are not privy to. The process was a lot quicker than we expected, which frankly we're happy with, because the sooner, in our view, the sooner Darrow Management was no longer managing those buildings, the better. And so that's kind of where we land on why Borger was selected, which the short answer is we don't know, but we weren't entitled to know under the terms of the settlement. The second question was about a letter that Darrow sent to residents about employees staying in place and paying rent. I'm not sure what that letter is. We haven't seen the letter, or at least I will say I personally have not seen the letter. I suppose it's possible folks on my team have. It is my understanding that many, if not all, of the people that were employed by Darrow are being hired by Borger to continue their management at those buildings. And in terms of paying the rent, the ownership of the buildings are the same. So Darrow Realty still owns a number of the buildings. So I'm not sure where you're paying your rent or what direction that letter provided, but neither of those things are surprising to me, and neither of those things are prohibited by the terms of our settlement agreement. Another question was about the $10 million settlement figure, and whether or not that was going to be used to make improvements on the different buildings that Darrow owned. And the very short answer is no, they're not going to be used for that. That $10 million was a civil penalty. When we sue under the Human Rights Act in DC, there's a couple of different types of monetary relief we can get. We can get restitution, where people are paid back if they're owed money or wrongfully paid money. We can get damages, where if somebody's harmed and there's a value to the harm that we can quantify. And then we can get civil penalties, and those are set by statute. The 10 million entirely was a civil penalty. And so by statute, those go to a litigation support fund that supports the Office of the Attorney General's litigation efforts to enforce the law across the district. So those were not, that $10 million was not restitution, it was not damages, it was a civil penalty, which is why it goes to that fund. What is OAG going to do for needed social services in the buildings? We have no jurisdiction or control over social services provided to Darrow residents or any residents across the district. I know that is probably a very unsatisfying answer, but unfortunately it is our answer. We're, in terms of the type of work that I do and the affirmative attorneys at our office, we are law enforcement. We are enforcing laws through affirmative litigation. And so we don't have any ability to control other DC agencies to determine what sort of services are being provided to different people. As similar, the last question was similar to that one, asking about what our office was going to do for residents that are unable to live independently. They don't take medications, they might have behavioral issues, violent tendencies, criminal histories. Again, that's outside the scope of our lawsuit. It's outside the scope of the jurisdiction of what we can do in terms of affirmative litigation at the Office of the Attorney General. There is a part of our office that handles some housing conditions and housing nuisance concerns. They enforce the Nuisance Abatement Act in the district. It's pretty specific, and the bar is kind of high in terms of what constitutes a nuisance, to where our office can act and file a suit. And the nuisances have to be related strictly to drugs and firearms. So that section of our office is the social justice section. And before I leave, I'm going to drop both my personal email address and the complaint email address for our social justice section in the chat, so you all have that. But I do want to preview that the bar for what constitutes a nuisance and is enforceable by our office under that law is pretty high. I don't do that work, so I'm not going to have specific answers to questions about what that is, but I can do my best to try and get them. So that's all the questions that were posed to me and the answers that we have. Again, recognizing not all of them are probably going to be super satisfying, but happy to answer any other questions that you all have.
That was very informative. Thank you so much. Karen has a question. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Can I go to the commissioners first with any questions, and then I'll go to the community? No questions. Okay, from the commissioners. Now, Karen, then I'm going to go to Faith, and then I'll go to Amy.
Thank you very much for the OAG presentation, and thank you, Courtney, for calling on me. I live in a Darrow building. I live in Sedgwick Gardens. And my understanding about the settlement is that the OAG assumes that Darrow has compensated voucher recipients who were mistreated in various ways after they became residents here. For example, they were charged, what do you call it when you lease a place? You have to put down a deposit. I spoke with one resident who was charged a $400 deposit after the city illegalized security deposits and said they were no longer required. That resident has not been compensated. And I'm trying to understand how a settlement could have been fashioned without really any enforcement mechanisms. As far as I can tell, the settlement just says, oh, well, Darrow's going to compensate people, but they're not. So what are you doing about that is one thing. The second question has to do with the timeline that you outlined for the OAG involvement, because I'm not aware of what you're saying about at one point Darrow accepted huge numbers of voucher residents and then they stopped. And it was at the point at which they stopped that you stepped in. I'm the president of the Sedgwick Gardens Tenants Association. And from what I can see from 2018 forward, it's been unabated and constantly accelerating numbers of voucher recipients, to the point where probably we now have 2/3 of the residents receiving vouchers. And I just think that is more than is reasonable, especially because many of them, or a number of them, are not able to live independently. But so I'm confused about your timeline. And the third point, very quickly, and maybe one other person will mention this, I don't think Darrow Management and Carissa Berry are out of the picture. And you may not want to know about that. You may not want to investigate it. But that's not what we're getting as we see it from residents here. So, okay, that's it.
You know, I really appreciate those questions. Those are great questions. I'll take them in order. On the point about Darrow compensating voucher holders. So the discrimination that we alleged that our settlement addressed related to voucher holders related to almost exclusively voucher holders being turned away or discriminated against, preventing them from leasing up at Darrow in the first place. The one form of discrimination that would have affected, that was part of our lawsuit that would have affected people that thereafter started renting at Darrow, was for folks that were unlawfully charged a security deposit in a situation where people without a voucher would not have been charged a security deposit. And so
Yes.
we've seen records of the number of folks that applied to and the refunds going back out to them. So based on the records that we've seen, that I don't have any reason to, based on what I've seen, it was my understanding and my belief that all of those folks had been refunded. The $400 is a different fee. I think you're talking about a different fee, which is not a security.
I mean, he was told it was a security deposit. What do you think it was?
There's a separate type of fee that Darrow occasionally charged called a pick up and go fee, or sometimes it was a move-in fee. They had a few different names for it over time, but that was different than a security deposit. But like I said, I'm going to put my email address in the chat. And if you have particular people that believe they were entitled to refunds that didn't get them, please have them contact me.
That would be
Because
wonderful.
we absolutely want to make sure everybody that was entitled to get money back got it. Our records showed that they did. So if something out there says otherwise, I absolutely would love to know about it so we can make sure that that's the case. It might be that whatever dollars he's talking about was a different type of fee that wasn't affected by the settlement, but I'd be happy to take a look at it and see.
And see if he can somehow get his money back, because that's a huge amount of money to him. But that'd be kind of a lot of money to a lot of people.
$400 would be a lot of money to me for sure. If somebody owed me $400, I would want it. So I definitely understand. On the timeline, so I don't know what records you see. We saw all of the records from Darrow for all of the move-ins from, I think, 2017 up through the present. And there was a marked decrease in new move-ins of voucher holders across all of Darrow properties over the course of a few years.
Which years?
Beginning, it varied slightly, but for the most part, beginning in 2019 and 2020 was where we saw most of the drop.
And when did you file the lawsuit?
We filed the lawsuit in 2020, in February of 2020.
So you're focused mainly on 2019.
No, ma'am. We received
saw the drop.
No, ma'am. We saw records for a very long time after that. That's the time that we filed it, because that's the time that we believed we had enough information that the law was being broken, that we felt comfortable enough filing it. But we've seen from the numbers that there was a marked drop in new move-ins of folks with vouchers at those buildings. What you might be seeing is that folks that had moved in 2017 and 2018 that had vouchers continued to lease and continued to stay in those buildings. So that portion of the tenancy didn't decrease in terms of the number of voucher holders.
Well, I think what I'm talking about, though, is seeing.
But what
I don't know how to put this, but new people who I've been told by established voucher holders who said to me, look, I'm a voucher holder, hearing from them in continuing influx in 2019 and 2020 of new voucher residents. And I'm assuming you know that the Washington Post article on the terrible misfunction of the city's voucher programs in Sedgwick Gardens was published. There were two, one in February, I think one in March 2019. So that was, the media also researched it, and that's what they found.
So what I can tell you is just based on the very extensive amount of work that we did in our lawsuit and all of the documents we reviewed. I can't speak to what you're being told by other tenants at the building, but based on the lawsuit and all of the documents that we reviewed, which there were over 4 million pages of documents as part of this litigation. I feel pretty confident saying that across Darrow Properties, the number of new move-ins of voucher holders dropped significantly. But I'm actually kind of going off track, because at the end of the day, what we proved in this case and what the settlement resulted in is the fact that they had policies to reduce it. It actually doesn't matter whether or not they did, even though they did. The fact was they had policies to reduce it. And so that's what's illegal. I know that you raised a concern about the percentage of folks with vouchers that live in your building versus don't. The Human Rights Act in DC protects against source of income discrimination across the board. So that includes for folks that are not paying with a voucher. So it would be illegal for any landlord in the district to not lease to somebody solely based on how they're paying their rent. So
but they are doing that.
I'm trying to answer your question for a moment, and then I'd be happy to hear how they're doing that now. But at this point, it would not be legal to say this building has 50 or 60% voucher holders. That's too many. We can't lease to any more voucher holders. That would be illegal under DC law, and that would be something that we would take action against. If you have information that there are landlords that are not renting to certain people or have policies where they're not renting to certain people, tell us about it. We want to know about it so that we can take action. And I know that kind of goes to some of the other complaints and questions that were raised to my colleague in November about the disparity in the amount that was paid to voucher holders or paid on behalf of voucher holders versus what market rate tenants are. And there is a new law that makes that explicitly illegal. And so if you folks have information, if anybody has information of a landlord that is charging different rates for people based on their source of income, please let us know. We want that information. We want to be able to take action when that's happening, because you're 100% right, Ms. Caston. That is illegal, and no landlord should be doing that in the district. And we absolutely want to do something about that if that's still happening.
So
we have one final, I'm sorry, Karen, I'm sorry. Because right now, we're not able to get other community members to comment, and we have to move on. And I want Amy to be able to make her statement, but Amy, we've got to keep it short because of time right now. Sorry.
I will be very succinct. I want to thank you for coming tonight and for answering those questions, because I live at a Darrow property, Connecticut House, and I was the one who submitted those questions with help from other people in Darrow Properties. So thank you very much for coming tonight. I will bring up just one point, is that if we were to give who would you say we should give feedback to at the OAG if we feel there should be more hands-on in the way it was implemented? Where would we give that? But at my attention, I want to add here that simultaneously, when Borger took over January 1st, Borger was bought by Donahoe, a corporate real estate developer in Bethesda, and they care even less about us than these property managers here. So we feel we're being ignored, and that they don't care what happens to us. But if you could let us know in the chat where we could give feedback about our concerns about the way the decision was carried out, that would be helpful. But I didn't know if you knew the added information about Donahoe, because that is even worse news for us. And the fact that it happens simultaneously, I'm not a conspiracy person, but it's just too coincidental to be
Suspicious.
coincidental. So thank you very much for coming tonight.
Yeah, again, really happy to be here. And I just want to make sure that I understand your question. You're looking for who at OAG you can express your feedback about how which decision was made. The decision about hiring that Darrow hired Borger?
Yes, the decision that it's hands off once that it's just a civil penalty and that there's no further implications to try to change the nature of these predatory property managers in the future. I'm a social worker, I'm not a lawyer, so I appreciate what you're saying, that it was just a civil penalty, but I think it could have been more comprehensive. And if there's any way we can give input to OAG to make these kind of settlements have more meaning going forward, I'd like to know where we could send that feedback.
Sure. So, sorry, let me just very quickly explain that the settlement did not only require them to pay a penalty and that's it. There were a lot of other components to the settlement. The civil penalty was just the only monetary component. So the other components that are designed to ensure that the law is followed moving forward is, first and foremost, that it's a court order requiring them to, which I know sounds kind of silly. It's an order to follow the law and they were already required to follow the law. But what it means now is that if they do it again, they're not just in violation of the law, but they're in violation of a court order, which carries more significant penalties. It could come with a contempt order. It's a lot more serious than just somebody breaking the law for the first time. It also required Carissa Berry to forfeit all of her real estate licenses in the district. So she can't engage in any practice within the district that's regulated by the Real Estate Commission. And that's because it's so important that our licensed officials are not discriminating and following district law. It required Darrow Management to dissolve its management business, which it has, and we actually have continued to receive more evidence that Darrow Management as an entity has dissolved, I'm sorry. And it also prohibits all of those individuals, Carissa Berry and the owners of Darrow, from owning a business that does property management in the district ever again for all time. So those are the bad actors that we believe were engaging in that kind of discriminatory conduct. And so they will never again be allowed to own a property management business and control the way a property management business in the district is implementing different practices when it comes to leasing for tenants, which we think is really, really important. I had never seen a housing discrimination suit or a resolution before that required a permanent ban on individuals from being able to manage property in a jurisdiction before. So we do think it came with some pretty hefty and pretty significant injunctive terms and terms that are designed to ensure that there is ongoing compliance and compliance in the future, not just the $10 million civil penalty. But we also rely on folks like you to let us know when, whether it's a Darrow building or somewhere else, if you see something that you think is not the way that it should be. There are definitely boundaries to the scope of what we can act on, but we always would like to know, and we can always refer you to other folks if we're not the ones that can handle it. But we rely on the public to tell us this information so that when it is something we can take action on, we have the information and we can do it swiftly.
Thank you.
And on that note, thank you. And on that note, thank you so much, Alicia. This was very informative and I really appreciate you being on tonight. Thank you so much. And we do have your information in the chat. Your email for people looking at this recording later is Alicia, ALICIA.Lendon, LENDON @dc.gov. Thank you so much. And the final item on our agenda, moving on to the next item on the agenda, is the ABRA license being led by Commissioner James Tenderick.
Hey everyone. So we have an ABRA license for the Soam Sellers. I believe we have Frank on the call. And Frank, feel free to go ahead and tell us about your business.
Sure. So it's not my business. I represent Soam Sellers. I'm their attorney. I think we can probably keep this quick. I think my colleague Kristen presented about nearly identical business last meeting that you had, internet only Class A retail license. So Soam Sellers is applying for this at Domain Wine Storage's facility, which I think is a facility that your ANC in the redistricting just came to include. Anyways, Domain Wine Storage has been a wine storage facility for a number of years and has probably, I don't know, 16 or 17 licenses issued to it, wholesale and internet only Class A, Class B, wholesale Class A and Class B licenses, right, that allow the licensees to wholesale, essentially receive, store, and deliver from the property beer, wine, and spirits if it's Class A, or beer and wine if it's Class B. And in this case, Soam Sellers application, internet only retail license, allows them to receive, store, and ship out or deliver beer, wine, and spirits, because they're a Class A license, or would allow that. The internet only retail license doesn't allow any public to visit the premises or purchase or consume alcohol at the premises. It's strictly a license that allows the receipt, storage, and delivery. So there's no public facing element, and there's no public accessibility element. James, you sent the settlement agreement that you all drafted, and my client's amenable to meeting all the requirements in that agreement. So we're willing to sign that. Obviously, any business is limited to the hours that Domain Wine Storage is open anyways, because basically all these licensees have lockers within Domain Wine Storage, which is a conditioned facility for storing nice wines and spirits. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of long and short of it. I think the protest period ends January 30th. Yeah, do you have any questions or?
Any questions from commissioners?
Not
Do we
at
have
this
the location of the
It's the same location as last month for the beer and wine. So it's like that, like storage, like right next to like the Go Puff like kind of place. Yeah, but same business as like last month's business, like a complete like online retail. Well, sorry, not retail, online storage business for alcohol.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it is a retail. Well, ABRA classifies it as an off-premises retail license because the privileges that has more to do with the privileges of the licensee than actually being public facing. I think there are probably, I mean, there are at least 15 licensees there. I know because I've obtained licenses for many of them, including wholesale licenses, which actually, just tidbit for future licenses, wholesale licenses do authorize the public to visit and purchase beer and wine. So this has fewer privileges than that.
any questions from the community? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Oh.
I was gonna motion to vote.
Okay, go ahead. Make your motion.
Yeah. So I motion to vote for the approval of the ABRA license for Soam Sellers.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Brian seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Terry, was that an aye?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any opposed? And the motion passes. Thank you, Frank.
Cool. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks, Frank, for coming on the call. Appreciate it, man.
Yep. Thanks, James, for sharing your help.
And I want to thank everyone who's still on the call right now. Join us. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. And of course, we're doing a lot of work in the background between now and then. So definitely reach out to us whenever if you need anything. Can I get a motion to end the meeting?
I move that we end the
go ahead.
meeting.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
right. Well, thank you. The motion passes. Good night, everyone. See you next month.
Good night, guys.
Thanks,
everyone.
Yvette. Good night.
Good night, Claudette.
Good night.